feeding you your pledge cards. So if we've been corresponding about pledge cards, it's nice to put a few faces with names today.
Thanks, Shannon. Dwayne Davey is here. Dwayne, you want to introduce yourself and share what your role is here with the annual campaign?
My role is I'm the overall chair of the campaign for the second year, and welcome. And I'm very excited we have all these folks here, and this is good. This is really good. Welcome.
Awesome. Thanks, Dwayne. And then lastly, Dave Sherry from the Sherry Group. Dave, you want to introduce yourself quick?
Sure. First of all, thank you everybody for coming and being here tonight. I'm Dave Sherry, working with Brian and the team on helping lead through the campaign. So looking forward to visiting with you all tonight.
Great. Thanks, Dave. One more person. We have another Okoboji staff, or not Okoboji, sorry, old habits. We have another Wesley Woods staff person who's here. Gracie Green, will you introduce yourself to folks and let people know what your role at Wesley Woods is?
Hey everybody, I'm Gracie. I'm the program coordinator at Wesley Woods. Excited to work with you all.
Thanks, Gracie. Thanks, Gracie. We've got a tremendous staff here at Iowa United Methodist Camps, and just grateful for all the people being here. You should have received a packet of information in the mail. I've got a couple notes. Looks like in the chat, some folks did not get those things. Oh, we have one more. Sorry, one more staff person. Phil from Okoboji. Will you introduce yourself briefly?
Hi guys, Phil here from Okoboji. Yeah, I'm the program coordinator here, and so thank you so much for your support. Like everyone said, looking forward to working with you too. So just thank you for being here and taking the time and the commitment to do it. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. All right, we have an agenda for tonight's meeting, and I'll try and keep us moving because I know that we all have a lot going on. Our first item here, I'm just going to briefly share the agenda. I know a couple folks don't have it necessarily in front of them, but our agenda, I want to just quick talk about the story of Iowa United Methodist Camps and who we are and what we aim to do. Number one, and maybe most importantly, we want to teach Christ to kids. That is what we do through the Iowa United Methodist Camping Program, and that's why we exist. We work with youth from all over the state of Iowa and beyond. We work with folks who come from all kinds of different backgrounds, and we kind of have a singular mission, and that is to make sure that those young people have an opportunity to have a lot of fun in a safe place where they'll make new friends, and when they leave, that they have a greater understanding of who they are in God's kingdom, that they have greater understanding of what faith looks like, and that they leave camp on fire for God. And it takes a lot of folks to be able to pull this off. The purpose of this campaign, and the reason that we are transitioning into a fundraising role as a camping ministry, is that we are changing as the Iowa United Methodist Church changes over time, and the world changes over time. We've found that the way that we have operated in the past is different than how we anticipate operating in the future. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Actually, we think it's a great thing because it gives us an opportunity to put together a tremendous network of alumni and people who care about camp. And that's how many of you came to this place, because you have fond memories of camp, you have fond memories of your time either working or visiting camp or being in a retreat or volunteering, and you think that this is an important place that should continue on for generations. So thank you for being here. Where would camp be without the annual campaign? Well, last year was our first annual campaign, and what that means, I'm going to stop my share here for just a second. For years and years, we were subsidized heavily by the Iowa United Methodist Church, and we're honored to receive that subsidy. But that subsidy system is changing, and without going out to receive funds, it's possible that camp would look very, very different. today, different than any of us could think it would be. And we want to keep camp like it is. It's a special place. It's a magical place for kids, and we want to keep it like that again for generations. And we can do this, and it's very exciting. We ran our first annual campaign last year. We raised $170,000 of support for Wesley Woods and Okoboji. We are blessed and honored by that support. It helped us bridge what was a very, very difficult 2020. As many of you know, we suspended programs due to coronavirus. We were able to run some alternative online programming to continue to minister to kids, because it's really important, we think, that even in the midst of a pandemic, kids especially know that they are loved, that there is a God, and that they are part of something bigger than themselves. So we were able to do that, but that was only because of the support of the annual campaign. And now we're excited looking ahead to having kids back on site this upcoming summer. We're still figuring out a little bit what that looks like because things change every day. But we, between Eric and Chip and myself and Shannon and our board, we feel very confident that we can safely have kids on site this summer. And oh goodness, are we looking forward to it. It's going to be great. So just wanted to give you some background and some context of where we are and why we are doing an annual campaign here. But I also think it's important as we move forward to hear from some folks that are actually involved in the camping program. It's one thing for me to talk to a group of adults like this, but I think it's really important for groups of adults to see and hear from the people who are actually coming to camp. So we've invited a couple of campers here tonight, and I want to, I'm hoping they were here. They're having some sound issues earlier, it sounds like, but our Sophia and Colin Beltman here. Go ahead and unmute yourselves. Are you here, friends?
Yeah, say louder.
There they are. Hey, you two, how's it going?
Good.
Fantastic. Well, hey, will you do me a favor? Will you just introduce yourselves and tell me your name and maybe what grade you are?
Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm in 7th grade.
Hi, I'm Colin. I'm in 3rd grade.
Very cool. And you have been to which camp for a number of years? Because you've come to camp for a long time, I think, right?
Wesley Woods.
Wesley Woods. Very cool. Very cool. Really glad that you've been able to do that. What are some of your favorite things about Wesley Woods or coming to camp? What are the things that you like doing at camp the most?
All of it.
Very cool. All of it. What about you, Sophia?
I would probably have to say the same.
Great. Great. Well, that's a ringing endorsement right there. Like I said, we've got some great staff and some great programs in our Iowa United Methodist camps. Tell me a little bit about, have you been on a horse when you're at Wesley Woods?
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I took a horse camp last year, and then my other years, I think we've been horse riding at least once.
Very good. Very good. When you're at Wesley Woods, you're in a cabin with other kids. By the end of the week, would you say that you're friends with the folks that you meet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still in touch with some of my camp friends from 2 years ago. So
very cool. Very cool. What about the food at camp? What's that like?
It's so good.
Yeah, I especially like breakfast. So
Yeah.
What's your favorite breakfast at camp?
I don't know. I like all of it.
yeah, probably bacon if.
Oh, I love
So-
bacon.
They've got some pretty good bacon at camp. That's for sure. That's for sure. Well, let's see. A couple more questions for you. What have you learned about God when you're at camp?
We focus on, like, I feel like mostly just getting to know God and like knowing that he's always there for you and he's always around you. And like we seem to focus on like specific verses in the Bible every day.
almost like a memory verse. Is that maybe the right word? Like a verse that you can remember then by the end of the week?
Yeah, usually we do like we choose one of, and then we choose one of the verses we've read, and then we put it to like a song so it's easier for it to remember.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really fun. That's really fun. Let's see, we talked about courses. What are some other things you've done at camp that you really like? Have you been on a ropes course or done canoeing, archery?
I like that big mud hill thing where you try to climb it, but you never make it because you fall back down. Not stomping, that's what it's called.
We do rope courses, well, at least the rock wall pretty much every year. I'm not a big fan of heights, so I usually make it about 2 feet up, but
I don't know if you can see, but there's a couple of adults nodding when you said that. So I think you're not the only one. All right, last question for you here. And then I'm gonna just invite you to share anything you want to share if you want to share anything else. But all of these people that are here tonight, Colin and Sophia, they are gonna be what we call campaigners. And they are gonna be raising money for Wesley Woods and Okoboji so that any kid that wants to can come to camp. What does that make you feel like when you think that, because it costs money to come to camp, when you think that anybody, even if they don't have enough money to come to camp, can still come? What do you think about that? Is that pretty cool?
Yeah, I like that.
I love that. Like even if you don't have enough money to come to camp, like you can still come to camp.
Because camp, would you say camp is more or less fun if there's more people?
It's way more fun.
Yeah, there's more people because I make more friends.
You bet. You bet. All right. Hey, anything else, Sophia and Colin, that you want to share while we have you here? These two are kind of our rock stars for the evening. We're really grateful for you taking the time to join us. Anything else you want to share?
Yeah.
No problem. Well, hey, let's give our camper friends a big round of applause here. Thank you, folks. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Colin, for coming. You're welcome to stick around if you want to. But I know you had a snow day too, and you might be trying to soak up the last pieces of that. So we really appreciate your time. Like I said, you're welcome to stick around. But if you got to head out, we understand, and we're just really grateful for you joining us here tonight.
Bye.
Thanks, friends. We'll see you later. You know, folks, I tell you, when we do these campaigner trainings, I think hearing from campers is really the best part, because that's really why we do what we do, is for kids like Sophia and Colin, and honestly about 2,000 other kids that we anticipate seeing during the course of a regular summer. So our next agenda item, I want to pull out what's called our case statement, and I'll share my screen here so that you can see what that looks like. If you have it in front of you, go ahead and grab it. And I apologize, I know in the chat there are some folks who have said that they do not have those documents yet. I apologize. If I could multitask, I would get them emailed out to you. I'm going to turn it over to another presenter here in a moment, and as soon as that happens, I will get those emailed out to you. So just be patient, friends. I really appreciate you letting me know, and we'll get that to you shortly. I want to share what we call our case statement document very quickly before I turn it over to Dave Sherry here. This should have been in the packet that we mailed you. I think this is a really helpful document because it kind of outlines what we do with the Iowa United Methodist Camp and Retreat Ministry. You can see here, Iowa camps, we serve about 2,000 youth in a typical summer. Last summer was a very atypical summer. This summer might be a little bit different too, but we're planning on being together here this summer. In 2020, this past summer, we served kids through what was called Backyard Camp. It was a brand new program that was developed by the awesome Iowa United Methodist Camp staff. And we were able to serve kids safely in a virtual way. So we were very proud of that. And we still shared about Jesus Christ with folks. And there's some cool stories that came out of that. There's one kid who came through backyard camp. You guys aren't going to believe this, who loved his experience so much that he actually set up his own virtual camp program. And he invited his friends to be a part of it. And they did songs and crafts and games just like his own backyard camp experience. It was really cool. When at camp, campers participate in daily worship and Bible studies, in addition to activities like swimming and horses, go-karts, archery, climbing tower, gosh, you name it. Kids get to do a lot when they're at camp. Creek stomping was very popular for Colin in particular. He liked doing that. And then the purpose of why we run a campaign is that we want to serve youth both this summer at Iowa United Methodist camps and for years to come. Going to scroll down. We're going to get to these levels of giving here in just a little bit. One more quote, because these things are cool, I think. Isaiah was a camper who came to camp, and he said, when I went to camp, it was the best week of my life. It brought me closer to Jesus and deeper in my faith. Friends, that's powerful stuff. I want to quickly read through our core values. I've referenced these briefly. We want to ensure that our campers and guests feel safe, secure, and loved. Want to ensure that our campers and guests are fostering community and friendships. And I want to ensure that our campers and guests are able to share and learn about Jesus Christ. When you boil down everything that happens at camp, we want those three things to happen for our young folks. And then the last piece I'm going to read is the case statement. And this is something that we'll talk about a little bit more, a little bit further on in the training. But Iowa United Methodist camps, we serve youth in a safe place where campers are encouraged and accepted through the love of Christ. Due to the pandemic, this campaign takes on extra importance as 2020 programs were suspended, putting tremendous financial strain on camping ministry. In 2021, we are aiming to minister to any young person, even those who can't afford it on their own, on site. We think we can do this, friends. After a pandemic shutdown, we will invite youth back to camp where they will learn about Christ, meet new friends, and have a renewed outlook on life. I got a text message today from a mom who asked if camp was going to happen this summer, and I said yes. And she said, thank goodness. She said, can you take them over spring break too? Please, I need to get these kids to camp. And it made me laugh. It was one of my favorite chuckles of the day. So, friends, what we're going to do here is important. And to outline a little bit more about what this campaign is and how it works, I want to invite Dave Sherry to share a little bit about some of the ins and outs of our task in front of us.
Thanks, Brian. Can everybody hear me okay? Is that coming through? Thumbs up. All right, perfect. First thing I want to do, I want to ask you, and for those of you who were in the training the other night, I'm sorry you have to listen to this whole gig again, but I want to ask you if you participated in last year's campaign, if you could please just raise your hand up in front of the camera. If you're a part of last year's campaign. Very good. You can go ahead and put your hands down. I want you to know, and this is not, I don't think, over dramatizing it, but you're heroes. You really are all heroes, and I want to thank you for that. Getting to see Sophia and Colin, but also knowing that without that campaign last year, we're really not sure where the two camps would have ended up. You were able to keep camps up and running. Your work last year was able to make sure that we were able to serve kids this summer through the backyard camps, which Brian was talking about. We were able to keep staff around, and we've got great staff who are able to program and plan, and you really saved camp. The work you did last summer or last February was a cornerstone piece in this program. So thank you so much for that. Now, if this is the first time that you've campaigned, go ahead and raise your hands. You are future heroes, about to be heroes, pre-heroes, maybe you could call it. And I want to thank you for that as well. There will be literally hundreds, if not thousands of kids who will be able to come to camp this summer because of you, either directly through a scholarship or by keeping the cost affordable. But camp will be available and up and running because of you. And I think camp is going to be as big or bigger than ever. And it certainly is going to carry a larger value than it usually does. And it usually carries a huge value. And I'll tell you a little story as to why I feel that way. So about a week ago, a little over a week ago, I went on a trip with two of my best friends. We left my house at 4 o'clock in the morning on Thursday morning, and we drove 12 hours straight through down to Fort Worth, Texas. And the road trip itself was fantastic. We just had so much fun in the car together and getting to visit and talk. We got to Fort Worth and checked into a hotel, and then we went out to the stockyards and went to a restaurant. And it was the first time since this whole pandemic had started that we were all out to dinner together, that we were able to go, that we went into a restaurant. I know a lot of folks have been doing that, but we haven't been. And we went and we sat and we had a great dinner and we had drinks and we laughed and we talked and we came back to the hotel and we sat up and visited for quite a while longer. Then we got up the next morning and we drove about another hour down to a ranch where we spent the weekend outdoors together and drove back late Saturday night throughout the night. And I can tell you that the social interaction was huge for all three of us. Just having spent so much time separated and not being engaged with people the way we normally do, for the three of us, it was so healthy to be able to spend that time together and interact and have fun and go out to eat and do all this stuff with friends, which is something that a year ago we would do without thinking twice about. But now we're starting to realize how much we took that for granted. And I am a grown man. These kids need camp. They need interaction. By the time this summer rolls around, they're going to be so ready to get to our camps and so ready to get outdoors and to be around friends and be around other kids and to be able to run and play and just enjoy all that camp has to offer. And the work that you're about to do is going to help make that happen. So I wanted to say thank you very much for that. So my job tonight is, as you look at your agenda, my plan is to take you through what our campaign is going to look like. I'm going to talk to you about what a person-to-person campaign is and why we do it. I'm going to talk all the way through about how everything works and explain the details and talk about clearing names and making a list to call. Okay. You have committed, and this is where we're going to start, is I want to talk about what exactly you committed to and make sure that you understand that. But here's one more quick story. I want you to understand the power of volunteers. So my last year as a camp director was 2 years ago. That February, we had 40 volunteers. Now understand that there's over 100 volunteers engaged in this campaign. But we had 40 volunteers that in 2 weeks raised $303,000 following the same program that you're going to do right now. 40 volunteers raised $300,000 in 2 weeks. Folks, the sky is the limit as to what we can do when we all commit to something and follow through with it as a team. And so tonight we're going to be talking about what those commitments are and what we have to do so that we can follow through. We have set a goal to raise $200,000. We have a major gifts campaign that is currently operating right now. And this is going to be a scary number. I'll share it to you, and then we're going to turn it over to Brian to break it down for you a little bit. But for us to reach our goal, we're going to ask, as your part of your commitment, including your personal gift, we're going to ask each of you to try to raise $1,600 or more. If you can raise more, that's great, because some people aren't going to be able to get to the 1,600. Some of you are going to be able to raise quite a bit more than that, and we're going to have to count on each other to balance each other out. But when we do the math, it comes out to about $1,600 a person to reach that $200,000 goal. You want to take a minute and visit about that, Brian?
You bet. Thanks, Dave. This is our second campaign, and we learned a lot our first year. One of the things that we learned is that, just like Dave said, some people are going to dramatically outperform that number. Some people are going to come in with a little bit less, and you know what? It's all good. It's really important that you know that just by participating, that whatever work you put in, to be able to contribute to the campaign is going to make a huge difference. Last year, our highest campaigner raised over $20,000. On the low end, we had some campaigners that were able to bring in about $200. Now, does that mean that there's any less value as a campaigner? Absolutely not. I think if you think about mean, median, and mode, and our most campaigners brought in around $600, and that was just absolutely tremendous. But we know that some folks will be able to do more. And Dave will talk a little bit about how to make an ask and the number of asks that we're hoping folks will make. And I guarantee if people make the 5 to 8 phone calls that we'll talk about, you are going to blow through a $600 number. You are going to blow through a $1,600 number most likely, because people are excited about what we're doing. It's really cool. So don't let a number scare you, because this is actually easier work than it sounds like at first glance. So thanks, Dave, for the moment to kind of break that down a little bit, and just want to let folks know that we're here for you, and we're going to do a great job.
And we're going to teach you how to do it. We're going to teach you how to do it tonight, and we're going to be available to help you throughout the month. Okay, so we've got really 2 goals for this campaign. The first goal we talked about is $200,000 as a big group. The second goal is to just get out and talk about camp. We want to have as many conversations about camp as we can with folks and spread the word about the good work that the United Methodist camps are doing here in Iowa. So what are we going to do? It's called a person-to-person campaign. A person-to-person campaign. And there's a lot of different ways to do campaigns, everything from bake sales to online to all kinds of different ways that you can raise money. This is a person-to-person campaign, which is exactly what it sounds like. We're going to be asking you to talk directly to folks. Okay. In a little while, we're going to be explaining to you how to create a list, and we'll talk you through that. But we're going to ask that you come up with at least 5 to 8 names. And again, we'll talk through how to do that, and then reach out to those 5 to 8 people. Now we can do bake sales, and we can put stuff on Facebook, but the reality is that that's a lot of work. And trust me, if you want to do a bake sale, by all means, you can go ahead and do a bake sale. But we know that we can get larger results with less work by making phone calls and making a direct ask. We're going to be asking you to commit to this campaign for 1 month, for the month of February. During that month, we're going to ask that you come up with a list of 5 to 8 names or more, and that you reach out and call them. Now, here's some things that we know. We know that whether this campaign runs for 1 month or 6 months doesn't really matter. And so the reason we say that is because human nature is a lot of us are going to come right out of the gate and make a whole bunch of phone calls right off the bat. And then we're going to get busy, and then we're going to jump back in the last week so that we can fulfill our commitment. That's why we want to make it a 1 month campaign, is we want to create a sense of urgency around it. And it's a lot easier to ask you to commit your time for 1 month versus over the next 6 months or so. Okay. While we're going through this tonight, it can be kind of scary when you start talking about asking people for money and making that phone call. It can be kind of scary, and we want you to be, we want to be realistic about that. But we also want you to be willing to ask questions tonight. And we're going to talk through why, although it can be scary, it doesn't necessarily need to be. And we're going to show you how to do that. So here's one of the secrets to this campaign, and that is going to be to try to keep stuff on top of the pile. We're going to talk about this a lot, and your captains, we're going to, again, we'll be talking about the breakdown. Dwayne will be later about captains, but all of you are on a team, and each team has a captain, and your captains will be reaching out to you, and Dwayne will be reaching out to you. A lot of folks will be contacting you throughout the week to try to keep your list on top of the pile. So you all have a folder, and in that folder, there are several things, and there you will eventually have pledge cards in that folder. And what we want to do is we want to keep that folder on top of your pile. We know that when people come home and they sit down, or you go to work to your desk or wherever you're going to make your calls at, you set something down, and then next thing you know, something else comes along, you set it on top, and pretty soon there's a pile. If your desk is anything like mine, you have a pile of stuff that stacks up, and the stuff on the bottom of that pile disappears. So one of our goals for this month is to try to keep your campaign folder on top of the pile so that you see it and you make your calls and you keep taking action on it. Here's some things that we know. We know that you get the highest probability of a gift. You get the highest probability of a gift if you talk to a person in person. So if you can meet somebody face to face and have a conversation with them, you have the highest probability of a gift, and you have the highest probability of a large gift. Now, we know that with COVID, that's a difficult thing to do right now. And even without COVID, it takes a lot of time to travel around and see folks. So the second highest probability of a gift and the second largest gift averages come from phone calls. After that, it drops off dramatically. So if we try to email people, or if we try to text people for gifts, we know that giving probability drops almost 90%, a significant drop off in either whether or not they'll give or the size of the gift that they give. And so we're going to ask that you either meet somebody in person if it's safe for you to do so, or that you make a phone call and talk to them on the phone. It's much more difficult for them to say no when they're having to talk to you and say it to you over the phone. It's also a lot easier for you to share what you're passionate about and why this is important and have a conversation with them and talk about camp when you can do that over the phone or in person. We know that 70% of all giving is done by individuals. Okay, individuals or families give 70% of all giving in this country. Corporations, a lot of people are going to say, why don't we go to the big corporations? Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. One is corporations only give 8 to 9% of the giving in our country. 70% comes from individuals. The other reason, though, is that corporate giving becomes very difficult for us to count on from year to year. And so they may give us a large gift this year, but not give us anything next year. What we're trying to do is to build a very sustainable campaign. And so what our hope is, and what the plan is that we continue to call the same people every year, and they start to use us as their charity of choice. So they know that every February, that Brian knows that every February, Dave Sherry is going to call him and ask him to make a gift to support the United Methodist camps. And then over time, as Brian grows to expect that and understand that, he will budget for that and plan for that. And that will become part of Brian and his family's annual giving. Okay. So we want to really focus on individuals, and we want to focus on either in person or over the phone calls. Okay. Any questions so far? We're doing fine. Okay. All right. Now, here's another thing that we know. We know that kids mean a lot to people. We know that people love to hear about kids. They love to hear about all the good work that Phil and Gracie are doing. They love to hear about the work that Gracie's doing at Wesley Woods and the impact that she's making and how the kids absolutely love her, or the great stuff that Phil is doing with the kids up at Okoboji. And they want to hear about that. They either have a connection to camp or they have a connection to someone else who has a connection to camp. And so they want to hear about it, and they want to hear stories, and they want to hear from you. We're going to ask that your 5 to 8 people or more that you come up with are people that you know, friends, family, neighbors, co-workers, people that you're comfortable having conversations with. Now, we do have other ways for you to get names. We have some existing lists. So if you are struggling coming up with a list, we can help you with that. But we know that people are more likely to give to people they know and trust than to a cold call. So we're going to ask you, I know that if I call my mom, she's going to support whatever I ask her to support because she knows it's important to me. So if I call mom and say, hey, this is really important, would you please help me out with it? She's going to give, right? We know that that's true with these two guys that I just went, Mark and Sean, that I just went down to Texas with. That if I call them and say, hey guys, I'm raising money for something really important to me, they're going to listen to me and they're going to hear the stories. And if it's important to me, they're going to care about it and they're going to most likely give something as well. And so your prospect list should be friends, family, coworkers, people in your camp community, people that you know. Okay. We also know that we want to ask for a specific amount. Now, when we call and just ask for a gift, Kate and I, my wife Kate and I, have been in the camping industry for years, which means that we've have hundreds of staff that have worked for us over the years. And somebody is always raising money for something, either a dance marathon at their college or a missions trip or something. And so we often get phone calls or emails or letters requesting, and our standard gift, if we're not asked for a specific amount, is $20. Somebody calls, we give them $20. That $20 gift is going to be important to us. We certainly will take it. But folks, it's going to take a lot of $20 bills to get us to $200,000. Okay. So we want to ask people for a specific amount. So I'm going to ask you right now to pull out your did you know sheet, the one that Brian was talking about a little bit ago. And maybe if Brian or Shannon, if one of you could pull that up on the screen, please, as well. So we have different levels of giving. $1,000 and up is our campfire circle, and their name is displayed on the donor wall at a campsite of their choosing. So $1,000 or larger to get put in the campfire circle, and their name is displayed on the donor wall. $700 is the true cost of camp. For 1 week of overnight camp, the true cost is $700. $350 is half a week of camp. And $140 is the true cost of 1 day at camp. And then, of course, we have our $10 a month for the Kindling Club, which they can continue to be a part of or join if they would like as well. Okay, so $1,000, $700, $350, $140. You can go ahead and close that screen off if you want. People like to give a dollar amount that they know ties to something. Okay, they want to give a dollar amount that they know ties to something. It's easier to picture what that's going for. Now, part of this is going to be understanding who your audience is. And so I've told the story of my friend Larry, who for years has lived in Colorado, has recently moved to South Carolina. And Larry is a great guy, but he doesn't have much. Wonderful, wonderful guy, a lot of fun, but he's kind of a sofa surfer guy from one friend's house to the next. He's got a heart of gold, and he would literally give you the shirt off his back, which he would almost have to do because he doesn't have much else to give. Larry, if I were to call Larry and ask him for $1,000, Larry's not going to be able to give $1,000. He just doesn't have it. If he did, he would, but he doesn't have it. So I know I'm not going to ask Larry for that. But I know that for Larry, $140 might be something he could do, especially if Larry understands he has a year to pay it off. This is one of the things that we want to make sure you explain to your folks when you're calling them, is that, and we're going to walk through the pledge card in a little bit, but when they make a gift, they have 1 year to pay that gift off. They can pay it monthly, quarterly, all at one time, but people are more likely to give knowing that they don't have to give whatever's in their wallet today if they can make a commitment over a year's time. Okay. So let's jump forward a little bit and talk about clearing names and making a list. We're going to jump forward and then we'll come back a little bit. If we could pull up the prospect sheet. You will be receiving, if you haven't already, you'll be receiving very soon an email that has got a prospect list in it, prospect sheet in it. And we're going to ask you to, again, come up with 5 to 8 names of people that you can call and ask for a gift. If you can come up with more names, that's fantastic. That's great. The more names, the merrier. But 5 to 8 names is what we're going to ask. If you raised money last year, If you raised money last year and you were in the campaign last year, you automatically get your cards back. So your donors from last year automatically come back to you. And we're going to ask that you call those folks again. And if you are willing to clear more names and call more people, that would be greatly appreciated. So this list, this prospect donors form will be sent to you. It's very important that you put your name in there because they all come into one place and Shannon doesn't know who they're coming from. So we need you to put your name under campaigners' first and last name. Prospective donors' first and last name, we need to make sure that we fill in all of this stuff. We need all this information. So their first and last name and their phone number and their phone type. Okay. And then you're going to send that off to Shannon. What's going to happen, you can go ahead and close that out. When you send that off with your 5 to 8 different names on it, Shannon's commitment to you is within 24 to 48 hours of business days, she's going to create to you a donor form or a pledge card. So if you have it in front of you, if you could pull out your pledge card, that would be great. Other words, Shannon, could we pull the pledge cards up on the screen? There it is, David Wallace. So you're going to turn in names, and we're going to ask that you turn in these names very quickly here in the next few days. Maybe by the end of the week or the weekend if we can, but as quick as we can, we want to get these names turned in. And when you get them turned in, Shannon is going to clear those names. And what clearing those names mean is that she's going to check to make sure nobody else is calling that person. Okay. What we don't want is we don't want poor Gracie to be getting phone calls from 7 of us asking for money. And then that's just going to frustrate Gracie. And so we want to make sure that only one person is going to be calling her. And so we're going to take some time and clear and make sure that that's the case. When you get your cards, the top information will all be filled out. So the donor's name, their address, their phone number, and email. And then if they gave a gift last year, it will be listed on there what that gift was. Okay. If they did not give a gift last year, then there'll be a 0. It won't be on there. So I'm going to call David and we're going to make an ask, and we're going to literally walk through how to make an ask. And then I'm going to do an ask over the phone so you can hear. But we're going to call, and if David says, yes, I'll make a gift, then we need to fill out the gift information. And please fill this out in detail. It's really important. The very first thing we want to do is confirm David's address. Okay. We want to confirm that we have an up-to-date address and cell number. I'm assuming you just called him on his cell, so hopefully it works. But we want to make sure that we got an up-to-date address, because if we're going to be billing him, we need to make sure that we have the correct address to do that. You're going to fill out the total pledge and then payment options: cash, check, credit, or debit card. If it's cash or check, how would they like to pay? Monthly, quarterly, you can read through all those options, and you're just going to read through those with David and fill them out as they go. If he wants to pay with credit card or debit card, same thing. You're going to work your way through and fill out all that information. Okay. Does your employer match gifts? Please ask your donor. Please ask your donor if their employer matches gifts. A lot of them do, and that's the way that we can double a gift. If the answer is yes, we need to make sure we get the name of the employer or any information we need to help make that happen. I want to draw your attention to the next line. May we publicly recognize you for your gift. Some people don't want to be recognized. Some people do. We want to make sure that we know that. And so make sure you fill that out and then go all the way to the bottom, designation. They can designate their gift to Lake Okoboji, to Wesley Woods, or they can leave it undesignated. And if that's the case, it will go wherever the greatest need is at. When that card is filled out, this is very important, please do not send them this card. If you send them the card, it's very difficult to get it back. You will fill this out when you're on the phone with them, okay? Once you have it filled out, we're going to ask that you email it directly back to Shannon. And her email address is right on the very bottom of the sheet, camps@iaumc.org. So you're going to email it directly back to Shannon. Okay. Any questions, or Shannon, anything you want to add?
We had some folks last year that weren't really comfortable with giving out their credit card number, knowing it was going onto a piece of paper to maybe get emailed or whatever. So if people don't want to do that, you can simply type into the card number there, call for card number, and I can take that over the phone. So try to get that information if you can, but if they don't want to, that's fine. I can follow up with them.
Okay. Any questions from the group so far? A lot of information coming at you. All right. Now, we're going to talk through how to make an ask. Okay. Again, we're going to understand the fact that we want to ask for a dollar amount. And I'm going to encourage you to ask high for a dollar amount and then come down if they can't do it. In all my years, and I've raised millions of dollars with different organizations, I have never had anyone be put out or upset with me for asking for too much money. Okay. They've never has anybody been offended that I thought that they had more money than I'm asking them for. Ask for a dollar amount. If they can't do it, they'll tell you, and then you can work your way down. Know your audience. Again, I'm not going to ask Larry for $1,000, but I will ask Larry for $140. When you go to make your call, I want you to grab a few things. I want you to grab your Did You Know sheet and have that sitting out in front of you. So if you can grab that quick, you're going to have the pledge card out in front of you for the donor that you're going to call. You're going to have you should have a phone script. And there's something about that phone script, Brian, you want to address?
Yeah, I made a mistake. Sometimes our goal is $200,000, not $50,000. So to put this in context, how this works, last year our goal was $50,000. We raised $170,000. And I just did not update the script. So when we set our new goal this year, I neglected to do that. So my apologies for the confusion.
It's quite all right. Stuff happens. So when you make your call, at least your first couple calls, I'm going to ask that you have that phone script out in front of you. And I'm going to ask that you have that Did You Know sheet out in front of you. And you do not have to use the phone script. You really don't need to use it. It's just there if you want to use it. But the reason I want to ask you to have those out in front of you is it helps build confidence. Okay. So that when you make the call and somebody gets on the phone, if you panic and don't know what to say, you can go to your phone script. If you panic and forget what to say, you can go to your Did You Know sheet and pull out and have the information right there and talk about the case statement and how many kids we served and what the different giving levels are. We want you to have that information so that you have the confidence that you need to make the ask. Okay, so you're going to want to have those out with you. All that an ask is, understand again, we're asking you to make a list of 5 to 8 people or more that are your friends, family, co-workers. These are people that you know and should be easy to have conversations with. All that an ask is having a conversation with a friend and then explaining to them what you're doing and why it's important, and then making an ask. It's a simple conversation and then asking for a dollar amount that is tied to a thing. Remember, people like something like the dollar amount tied to a thing. So $1,000 for a campfire circle, $700 for a full week of camp. That's really all that it is. We're going to call, we're going to talk about life. We're going to talk about camp. We're going to find out if they have a camp story. We're going to talk about why camp is important. And then we're going to simply make an ask and ask if they would support something that we're passionate about. If they say no, and some people will say no, if they say no, that's okay. All right. I want to tell you that right now. If they say no, that's okay. That doesn't mean that you've done a poor job as a campaigner. That doesn't mean that they're a bad person. It just means that this is not in their plan right now. and we thank them, and we still had a chance to talk to them about camp. And that's still meeting one of our goals, and that's still a win. You're going to have some people that say no, but you're going to have a lot of people that are going to say yes if we make the ask. The hardest part about making an ask is picking up the phone and making the first call. Once you pick up the phone and make the first call, they'll get significantly easier. You're just talking to a friend. Okay. So next thing I want to offer, and you can write this down, I want to offer you all my cell phone number. If you want to practice making a call, you can give me a call and we will walk through it. And so here's my number. I've already got a pen and piece of paper ready. My number is 515-230-4030. That's 515-230-4030. They keep phone numbers simple for simple-minded folks like me, so it worked out perfect. And Shannon just put it on the screen there for you in the comments. If you call me, if you want to practice, I'm going to ask that you try to shoot me a text first if you text, and we'll set up a time. If you don't text, just call me, and if I can answer the phone, I will, and we'll set up a time. But if you call me, we'll first start by talking through it, and then we'll actually do some role play, and we'll make an actual call. We'll have you call me. I'll answer the phone. We'll have you go through your spiel, and I'll say yes or I'll say no, and we'll talk all the way through it. And then I'll let you know what I think you did well and what opportunities you have maybe to make some improvements. And we'll practice again, and we'll keep practicing until you're comfortable with it and you're ready to roll. And that's a genuine offer. It's one of the things that I'm paid to do. So feel free to call, and we'll practice if you need to practice. Okay. So again, we're going to go through our steps. Step 1, we're going to fill out our prospect sheet. We're going to come up with 5 to 8 names. Step 1, 5 to 8 names or more. If you campaigned last year, you will get your donors back. We're going to ask you to please call those people and consider coming up with additional names. Step 2 is to get that list turned in to Shannon to get those names cleared. Okay. Step 3 is you're going to get your pledge card back for every name. So each person whose name gets cleared, you're going to get a pledge card back from. Okay. Step 4 is you're going to make the call, make the ask, fill out the pledge card, and then you're going to turn that pledge card in, preferably by Thursday night or early Friday morning each week. Now, you don't have to wait till Thursday night or Friday morning. If you make the ask on Monday and you want to send it in on Monday, that's great. But we would like that on Thursday night, everybody needs to turn over any pledges they've completed by Thursday night or early Friday morning, because Shannon is going to take all of those and compile them. And then we will have a report so we can see from week to week where we are and how we're doing. There's one gift that should be very easy to get. Your first gift should be the easiest gift to get, and that is going to be your own gift. We're going to ask that you make a gift that is personally significant to you. Okay. Now, you're at a little bit of an advantage because nobody's calling you and asking you for an amount, but it is very important that you consider giving a gift and that you give your gift first. It makes raising money a lot easier and, quite honestly, more fair to ask people for money, knowing that you have already made a gift and being able to tell people that I've supported this, I made a gift. What does personally significant mean to you? That's really up to you. But what I encourage people is think about how much money can I give where it will hurt? How much money can I give where it will be painful? And then back off just a little bit from that, a little less than that. Okay. So a personally significant gift to you, whatever your situation is. So you're going to make your gift. You're going to fill out your prospect sheet. You're going to get your pledge cards back. And then you're going to start making your calls and making your asks. And making your calls and making your asks is simply a conversation followed up with a question. And then you're going to fill out the pledge card and you're going to get those sent back, emailed back to Shannon by Thursday night or Friday morning. Okay. We're going to make a call right now. Is everybody ready? We're actually calling my wife. And I'm not going to use the pledge. I'm not going to use the phone script. We're just going to have a conversation. Hopefully she answers. Can everybody hear that okay?
Hello,
Hey, Kate, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I appreciate you answering the phone. Have you got a couple minutes to visit?
I do. What's going on?
Well, I just wanted to check in. I'm volunteering for United Methodist camps and working on a campaign for them. And we just kind of want to visit with you a little bit. You know how much camping means to me and my faith. And I just really believe in what they're doing at the United Methodist camps. And have you been to camp? I think you've been to camp before, haven't you?
I have. I went to camp in Wisconsin when I was a kid.
Have you ever been to Wesley Woods or Lake Okoboji?
I have not.
They're beautiful camps and absolutely wonderful programs. You ought to meet Gracie and Phil. Their program directors are amazing. They do a great job with the kids, and kids go there not only make friends and have fun and do all the wonderful things that camps do, but they also, on top of it, learn about God and grow in their faith. And it's just something I'm pretty passionate about. When you went to camp, what camp was it? Was it Minneconne? Was that right?
Yes, it was.
What was your favorite thing about it?
Yeah, it was a father-daughter camp. So just spending time with my dad, I remember that.
That's a pretty special memory. Is that something that you still think about from time to time? I mean, you obviously understand how important camping is, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Well, what we're doing is we're trying to raise money to help kids come to camp, and to either provide scholarships for kids who can't afford it. I mean, I think you would agree that everybody should be able to go to camp if they can afford it.
Definitely.
And if they can't afford it, we want to make sure that we can support them and help them get there on a scholarship. So we're raising money for scholarships, and then also some of the money is just going to go help keep camp affordable, so every family can afford to send their kid to camp at some level. And so I'm giving a gift. I was hoping you would consider giving a gift as well. One campership to send one kid to camp for a week is $700. Would you consider a $700 gift?
Oh, at this time, I don't know that we can do 700.
Yeah, I know for a fact we can't. I know our checkbook too, but I had to ask, would you consider doing half a week of camp, $350?
I think we could probably make that work.
That would be great. That's so generous. I really appreciate you. I just need to fill out some information on a pledge card so that we can get this taken care of. I've got your address. Do you want to pay cash or check or credit card? You've got a whole year to pay it off, so you don't have to do it all at once.
Is there a way to do it quarterly?
Yeah, we can bill you quarterly if you want, March, June, September, December.
That works. Why don't we plan on that?
And just want to be billed for that?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Does your employer match gifts?
I don't know, but I can certainly check.
If you could, just shoot me an email and let me know. That would be great. And then just two more questions for you. Are you okay if we recognize you for your gift publicly?
Yep, that would be fine.
And then does it matter to you which camp it goes to, or just undesignated, wherever the biggest need is?
Undesignated is fine.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome.
Love you.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye. I don't know if I'd recommend telling every donor that you love them, but whatever seals the deal. Do what you need to do. All it is, folks, is a conversation. It's just having a conversation. We talked about camp. I shared to her why it's important to me. I made it personal. Why is it personally important to me? I shared with her why I thought it was something that I wanted to support and why I was behind it and why I was involved with it and that I have given a gift to it. I asked her for her camp story. We just had a conversation, right? And then I followed it up with the ask, and she said no. And so I lowered and went to the next level until we found a spot that she was comfortable with. That is all that making an ask is. Sharing something that you're passionate about, sharing something that you care about, and asking those that you have a relationship with to help you support it. Okay. All right. Let me take a second and just kind of go through the obvious again. Step one, first thing you do, step one, is create a list of names, 5 to 8 names. Okay. Get them that filled out on your prospect sheet and get it turned in. Step two is get those turned in and get them cleared. Step three is getting your pledge cards back from Shannon, and she'll get them back to you 24 to 48 hours in a business week. Okay. We want those names turned in as soon as we possibly can, sometime this week, ideally. And then number 4 is going to be make the ask, fill out the pledge form, and send it back. We're asking you to try to raise a minimum of $1,600. That includes your own gift. If you can raise more than $1,600, please go get them. The more you raise, the better. And as a team, that will help us reach the goal, because some of us are going to fall short of that. Okay. When you make your call, you want to have your pledge form in front of you, your phone script in front of you, and your did you know sheet in front of you. Okay. You want to have those 3 things there just for confidence. And then you want to turn in all your pledge forms for the week sometime directly. You want to turn them in directly to Shannon. I see there's a question. Do we still turn in the pledge card if they say 0? I would say yes. If they say no, still turn that pledge card in so that we can officially put an answer on our list so we know where all those cards are at. If you can turn in a card earlier, that's great, but at least by Thursday night at the absolute latest, early Friday morning for your calls. I will take a couple questions if anybody has any now. Other words, we'll stick around afterwards and I'll answer some questions. Brian or Shannon, Chip or Eric, anything you guys want to add that I missed?
I had a quick question, Dave. Can we just briefly talk about the campfire circle and specifically, you mentioned $700 on the phone when you talked to Kate there. If she says yes, would you ever try to talk to a prospect about going to that campfire circle level?
Absolutely. If she answered yes comfortably at $700, then I'm going to realize I probably under asked, and I would simply follow that up with, hey, you know what? That's great. Would you consider going up to $1,000? $1,000 is the campfire circle, and your name would be recognized on the donor wall at camp, and ask. But again, it starts with knowing who you're asking. You can't over ask somebody. And so I started with 700 with Kate because I knew that that's kind of where we are at. But if she would have jumped on that, I would have asked her to consider the $1,000 gift.
Dave, I just wanted to throw out there for the campaigners for Wesley Woods, just so that they know when they're talking about the campfire circle, that donor board is mounted in the chapel, that they can tell folks where that will be posted. Let them know. The other question is, Kate agreed to $350 in the last training and $350 in this training. Does that mean we hit the 700?
I'm going to have to talk about a weekly payment plan, or maybe I can come up and do dishes at Wesley Woods or something to work that off. No, Chip, that doesn't mean 700. Great question.
Sorry, I have a question or.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just thinking myself for convenience of donation, I prefer to just go online and submit my donation, and I've got the website pull up. I see I can select annual campaign. Can I just do that instead of filling out I feel like it's a hassle for me to fill out the donor card. I'm gonna have to take it to work and scan it. So I use the scanner at work and then email it. It'd be easier for me to just enter my credit card online.
Can I answer that one, Dave?
Yeah, of course.
You can, that's fine. If that's your, like, if if you share with a donor that they can do that, again, I think we're going to be a lot more likely to actually get their information and really get that gift if you take their information. But if they say they want to make the gift online, email me and let me know. And then that way we can get that gift attributed to you and your team. Also, the pledge cards that you'll be getting are fillable. You don't have to print them. You can fill them out on your laptop if that's a possibility for you as you're talking to people, and then you can email the card back to me. You don't actually have to print anything at all. If you do print it, you can take a picture of it and email it to me that way. I just need the information. So don't feel like you have to, like, don't make it more complicated for yourself. Make it as easy as you can for you. And as long as we get the information, that's the important part.
Well, I'm thinking, I mean, if somebody called me and asked, like, would you like to make a donation? I think I'd be more comfortable saying, yes, I would. I would like to go onto the website myself and enter the donation. I don't want to tell you how much I'm going to give. It makes me uncomfortable. I mean, I'm thinking the people that I submitted as potential donors are folks that I went to church with or go to church with. And I think I'd feel uncomfortable saying how much or how little I'm able to give. I would prefer if somebody said, I'm happy to call people and say, this is why camp is important to me. This is why I'm passionate about camp. These are the things I think are so great about it. I'm, participating in this campaign. Would you consider, making a contribution? And I agree with even the levels, tying it to that. But I would feel more comfortable if somebody said, you can go online and indicate your amount there. So
well, I can tell you, first of all, we'll take money any way that they want to give it, right? And so whatever somebody is most comfortable with, we'll figure out. But if we offer them in the conversation, if we say, you don't need to tell me how much you want to give if you want to go online and do it, we will see a 90% drop on average, according to statistics, in the size of their gift or the likelihood of them following through with it. So the asking for the amount and filling it out on the pledge card and turning it in greatly increases our chances of collecting a gift and collecting a larger sized gift. And so if somebody's uncomfortable sharing that, then we can certainly encourage them to go online and give, but we would really prefer, statistically speaking, we'd prefer to get the pledge card filled out and turned in that way. Okay. But bottom line, whatever we need to do to get them to support, we'll take. Okay, great question. So now I'm going to turn it over to Dwayne.
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Angie. Go ahead.
Yeah. Last year when I asked some people, went through the spiel and stuff, I got a couple reactions that they said, $700 for 1 week, like some of these people probably had their kids like decades ago go. And so they're, the Flintstone ages, but some people just wanted to know what, like you said, it's tied to a thing. And I think I would like to be able to tell them, the ins and outs or why it's that much. I mean, because we need to, fill the cost of this and this and this and this. I mean, you don't have to do that everybody, but for the people that ask and react that way, it's because last year I just said, why, I don't know, I'll find out for you, so that people might run into that. And just for that type of person, if you had something right off the bat, just to kind of come back and tell them, just a suggestion. And I think it'd be helpful to me, maybe some others too.
Sure. You want to answer that, Brian, or would you like me to address it?
No, I'd love to. If I understood your question correctly, Angie, I kind of default to, because we get that question a lot. I like to think of in terms of the hotel model. So if you were to stay in a hotel, let's say for a night, the hotel will typically charge between $100 and $200 per evening to essentially get a bed and a shower and maybe a continental breakfast or access to a pool or something like that. And they do that because that's kind of their break-even price point where they can function and pay their staff and those sorts of things. And so I use that example specifically because it's similar in concept to what we do with camping. But the difference with camping is that in addition to that bed and that shower, we're providing 24-hour supervision for young people. We're providing insurance. We're providing 3 meals a day. We're providing horses. We're providing swimming. We're providing programming for a set number of days. So if hotels, for example, have identified this is the level that we need to be at to make money, and these are the services that we provide at camp, the service that kids get that they love is significantly higher than the hotel's model, and that's what makes the price maybe perhaps more than some folks would think of necessarily at first glance. Does that answer your question? Or
yeah, if you just put in writing what you just said, like
yeah.
you listed all this stuff, you know, you get 3 meals a day, and we provide for horses and 24-hour supervision, insurance, just a quick little list. You
yeah,
can
you bet.
These people, then it would just be like, oh, okay, you know.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. I'd be happy to do that for you, and I'll type up some pieces like that too and make sure it gets out in an email to folks, because that's a great question.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate that.
If I could
Perhaps also noteworthy is that we're not charging kids $700 to be there. Our standard week of camp is $480, and camps are subsidized, and this helps fill that. So, I mean, if people, their jaws drop when they hear 700, that's not what we're charging. We want it to be affordable for them, but that's where you know, the conference funds have come from for so long, and now that conference funds are maybe not as readily available as they used to be, that's where this campaign is really, really important.
I was going to offer too that I have kids that are of like summer camp age, and I get all kinds of flyers in the mail that they could go to basketball camp. And so I would say sports camps and music camps, that all those opportunities are very comparable. So to me, like I wouldn't bat an eye at it. This is a week of camp, regardless of what camp you're going to go to. I think in my opinion it's comparable, if that's of any consolation.
Yeah, well, and a lot of the people that you talk to, you know, they may be you know, in their 70s or maybe in their 60s, and they just haven't been around that for a while.
Right,
so that's good to hear, you know, as a younger somebody that has young kids, comparable, that's good.
Yes.
Great.
So just throw one more piece, if you don't mind. And a big part of this campaign, you know, we talked about it with earlier when Colin and Sophia were here too. We have never turned away a camper for financial reasons, and we are very, very passionate about that. So that's part of what this campaign accomplishes, to make sure that if folks need help to come to camp, we'll make it happen. That's a big deal.
Brian and Dave, that's an issue that I knew you had included, but Dave, in your conversation, you really stressed the scholarships, and while that's a part of it, as I understand it, the campaign is not just scholarships, right? I mean, it's funding the whole of camping ministry.
That's correct. You're correct, Bruce. So this campaign will provide direct scholarships. It will also provide funding to help keep camp affordable for all kids. Yep, very good.
Thank you for that clarification.
All right, let's turn it over. We're going to take some more questions and some more time for questions at the end. But let's turn it over to Dwayne quick to talk through the organizational chart and how that works.
Good evening. Thank you all for sitting here and listening. There's a lot of information coming at you, and we've got one more piece, of course. This is our organizational chart. It's a little hard to read, but if those of you that were here last year and you saw this, there were open spots, white spots, red things. We didn't have it very well completed. And this year you can see that from the top down, we have a lot of folks, and we're so good at it. They added another week to Lake Okoboji and to the board for some of the teams to have 6 people instead of 5. What I'd like you as campaigners to understand is that you have a team captain. So your questions need to flow up to them. And the reason for that is so that there's consistent information coming back down. If they can't answer it, then they can go to Chip or to their campaign. Brian, can you slide that thing around a little bit? Their campaign chair. So I'm just going to use the board in the middle here. Team members, you would flow up to Nick Grove. If he can't answer it, then you would flow it over here to Ryan Russell. And then, of course, it goes up. There is one exception to that, and that is your completed pledge cards. And that goes directly to Shannon. Team captains, the chairs do not have to collect that information. Shannon will collate it all and feed it back to us. And it just saves a lot of monkey business. So just if you have questions, find out who your team captain is and ask them the question. I think you'll see after tonight, there's probably not a lot of new things or complicated things. There's always just that one exception thing. And then, of course, everything else goes to Shannon. I'm really excited because last year, as we talked about, we set a goal of 150,000, and the results just kept going up and up and up and up and up. It was amazing. And this year, we decided to go a little higher, and because there's going to be less money being subsidized from apportionment. So it's just, that's how it works. And we thank you very much for your efforts here, and go get them. Brian, did you have anything else you wanted to add to this?
Yeah, just briefly that we are going to be sending out this this sheet to you. We intentionally did not include it in the mailing or previous emails because we've still been recruiting folks, and things have been changing, but we're just about locked in here. So you'll expect to see this in your email inbox before too long. So you'll know who your team captains and folks are on the sheet.
And you'll notice that they all have either email or cell phone numbers or phone numbers to contact, so they'll be readily available. That's all I got.
All right. Brian, you want to talk about support quick? I guess we kind of already went through that. Anything to add to it?
Yeah, I'm just going to bring this back up here again. Hey, if you're a campaigner, especially if this is your first time, you are going to get you have a team captain, and I'm going to pick on Molly Martin over here because I know that she's here tonight. Molly's one of our team captains on the Okoboji side. Molly has 5 people who are underneath her. So part of Molly's job once a week is she's going to be reaching out, phone call or text message, and for folks that are on her team or for folks that are on a team, if you get a phone call or a text message from your team captain, just through the month of February, we're going to ask you to take that call and respond to that text message. And Molly's just going to be checking in to make sure that, like Dave says, we're keeping our tasks at the top of the pile. We all have lives. We're all volunteers here, and want to be cognizant of that. So I understand that as things happen, something happens at church, something happens with work, you kind of mentally drift away from the campaign. So please respond to those text messages and just check in with your team captain once a week to make sure that calls are happening. If you have a question, don't hesitate to reach out to your team captain. So I know Sam's here, Sam Bierman. Molly is a great first resource. Feel free, Sam, to reach out to Molly. Same thing over here. I know we've got Julie here on our center square. Steve McGrew is here. If he's got a question, Julie's a great first contact. If Julie doesn't have the answer, she's going to reach out to Ryan. If Ryan doesn't have the answer, he's going to reach out to Dwayne. And if Dwayne doesn't have the answer, who am I kidding? Dwayne has all the answers. I don't even know why I would ever think that Dwayne didn't have an answer. He's pretty good. So that's how our structure works. It's pretty easy. The one exception is if you've got a pledge card that you've completed, just go ahead and send it in to Shannon as soon as you can so that we can keep the appropriate tally.
All right, we threw a lot of stuff at you, a lot of information at you. I just want to go over the highlights again. You're going to please come up with a list of 5 to 8 names and fill out the prospect list. Please try to do that in the next few days. You're going to get pledge cards back from Shannon within 24 to 48 hours on business days. You're going to make your calls, fill those pledge sheets out and get them turned back in sometime during the week, but at least by Thursday night at the latest Friday morning of each week so that we can track those where we're at. Okay. And then I just want to take one minute to share just 2 more things with you. One is that you're going to get a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails. And as Brian mentioned, we're going to ask that you please respond to those. That is all intended and very intentional to keep this a priority during the week, or to keep it a priority during the month. The best way to make the phone calls and emails stop is to make your phone calls and follow through with your commitment and help us reach this goal, and then we're done. And we can all go out to pasture and relax after that. So please return the emails. Please return your the phone calls so that people can get in touch with you and get the information. The last thing is I just want to say thank you so much for your time. This is a huge commitment. We're going to try to make it as easy on you as possible. Again, if you want to practice, you can call me and we'll practice. If you're nervous or have questions and you want to just go through it a few times, call me, we'll practice together. And then lastly, I'm going to be staying on the line here for a while. So if you want to stick around and ask questions, Brian and I think some of the others will be online here to help you out with that. So I'll turn it over to Brian to close us out, but thank you very much.
One kind of silly thing, and I forgot to do this with the first group, so you could be you can kind of be our stars here. I'd love to take a picture of this crew here and let folks know what we're doing and share it on our Iowa United Methodist Camp's Facebook page. So I could just take a picture and everyone kind of is looking different directions usually when that happens. But if you could take just 2 minutes and give a big smile, that would be terrific. There we go. What a great looking group. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna switch to page 2 here. Here we go. All right. Oh man, you all are just totally awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you, friends. I'll quick pray to close this out here, and then if you have questions you want to stick around, feel free, and then otherwise we'll let you get on about your evening. Let's pray. Dear Lord, thank you again for this time. Thank you for the work in front of us. I just am so humbled and grateful for all these campaigners who believe in the ministry that happens at Okoboji and Wesley Woods United Methodist Camps. Bless our evening, bless our work in front of us as we prepare to help make you known to young people across the state. We love you so much. In your son's name we pray. Amen. Thank you, friends. Appreciate your time. Questions, reach out. You'll be getting emails from us again very shortly. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Oh, we're getting bigger now.
Bye, Brian. Bye, Brian.
Yeah.
Well, very good, everybody. Anything that we missed? You have a question?
Shannon, the donor sheet, can we just type that up on another piece of paper with all the names on it rather than, I mean, you've only got like 3 or 4 spots in here. Or does it need to be this sheet back?
You, Lois?
Yes, so I'm sorry, I'm on my husband's Zoom.
No, that's fine. I have your list. I know there was a little bit of talk. Chip can chime in on this. I think we had some other folks too that maybe needed a few names, and you had so many. I don't know if you might be willing to share a few, but I will provide those cards directly to you. So don't submit new names. I have all your names. You don't need to do it again.
Okay, and if people need names, I'd be more than happy to share some of those. I just Joanne called me from Wesley Woods, and so I just sat down and wrote down a whole bunch of them. So yeah,
Thank you.
be happy to share some of those. So
I
you don't
will
care
assume-
how we turn them in, as long as we have the names and their phone numbers, basically, right? It doesn't have to be this piece of paper necessarily.
No, I've got
You don't
your
need mine
names.
anyway.
Well, I've got your names, and then at this point, like basically I need the phone number in case it conflicts. Like if I get two people by the same name, it helps me to differentiate if those are different people. So if I don't have that information from you at this point, I'll still at least give you a pledge card that has the name